are moving on to our next unit. We are starting with 2.1, which is properties of real numbers. What you're going to be able to do today, you can identify and simplify expressions using properties of real numbers. This whole unit is aligned with properties and being able to simplify algebraic expressions utilizing properties. Okay? So, the thing with properties is it all is formed by what is equivalent. And equivalent means two statements that are the same. Two statements that are the same. So, the major properties, and they're not going to leave you. There's like 5 major ones that you're going to learn as 7th and 8th graders, and I think you learned it even as 6th graders. Commutative, associative, identity, zero, and then the multiplication property of -1. So commutative just means switching the terms around. Like you commute to school, okay? You look at that word commute. You commute to school. You go to school, and then you go home from school. Okay? It's equidistant, same distance, equivalent. Okay? This is only for addition and multiplication. That's the only operations it works for. Commutative property does not work for subtraction and division. Okay? So A plus B is equivalent to B plus A. Just so you know, asterisk means multiplication. I think that a lot of you have figured that out by now. Associative property. It's known for regrouping. But what a lot of kids notice is you move the parentheses around to different numbers. Okay, excuse my abbreviation. I hope you know this isn't hashtags, it's numbers. Okay? I think of the root word associate, a group of my friends who you associate with changes. Okay? So like here, B and C are in a group, they're associating together. And then when we reassociate, and that's a great skill to have, be friends with lots of people. Don't just have one little group, have lots of friends. So here, we can say, all right, now A and B are going to associate together. It's a regrouping, a re-friendship, things like that. Some of you are stuck on hashtags, I bet. And you might want to put numbers under there. You're at the age where it's hashtag central, and this symbol is truly a number symbol, not a hashtag. Or pound, it's a pound sign. But okay, identity property. The value stays, what do you think?
The same.
Heck yeah, it stays the same. Root word, identity. Keeping my identity, staying the same. So you have identity property of addition, and you have identity property of multiplication. To stay the same for addition, what do I need to add to something to stay the same? 0. So the identity property of addition is adding 0. For multiplication, what do I need to multiply something to stay the same?
1.
Okay? So it only works for identity addition, multiplication. Okay? Same with associative. This only works for addition and multiplication. Subtraction and division are always left out. Or little subtraction and division. They're always left out with these properties. Okay?
Or the multiplication addition left in.
Right. Ooh. Okay. 0 property. 0 property. The expression turns to?
0.
How did you know that?
I told it.
The expression totally turns to 0 because you have the word 0. utilizes property. It's a doozy. I love to throw this at people that are like, oh, I'm just amazing at math. I'm like, sweet. Here, I'll make you a problem. And I'm like, solve it.
Zero.
Right? And what did you utilize? You utilize the zero property. But a lot of people don't notice that. They start going left to right, and then they're like, oh. Okay? So my eyes, whenever I look at a huge problem, I'm like, oh, is there something I can utilize to just, they're trying to trick me. And you will be tried, there will be times you'll be tricked. Okay?
Can we do the same do it one more time with zero properties? So we do like 0, 0, 0, 0.
Wouldn't that be nice?
That would be the best one.
Multiplication property of -1 is really an 8th grade property, but all you do is change signs for that. So like if I want to turn 4 into -4, then I have to times this by -1. So anytime you want to change signs, you utilize the multiplication property. You do want to do that when you have this. That is not solved for x. X still has that negative hanging out by it. So we utilize the multiplication property of -1 by timesing both sides by -1. And then that cancels that out. Okay? It's just changing signs. I don't ever show this. We'll get more into that when we get into our algebra unit. Let's identify some properties. X plus 0 equals x. Which property is that? Rachel. Zero property, but I have x and an x. Right? Faith? It stayed the same. This is huge. About 80% of kids are going to say the zero property because they see a 0. Remember, zero property turns something to 0. You're always comparing what changed. They stayed the same, so it's identity. 3 plus, in parentheses, 5 plus x equals parentheses 3 plus 5 plus x. Ellen. And how do you know it's associative?
Because you're just moving the parentheses and same thing.
Yep, you're moving parentheses. I'm reassociating. Here the 5 and x are hanging out like, hey, this is fun. And then the 5's like, hey, I'm going to go hang out with 3. I'm going to reassociate myself. 10 times x times 0 equals 0. Ella?
0.
0 property. How do I know that? I always compare left side to right side. I have a 0. I utilize the 0 property. Okay, 5 plus 2x equals 2x plus 5. Chase.
Commutative,
And how do you know it's commutative?
because it just changes
It just changes like location.
it just switches like
Spots.
yeah.
Yeah, totally switch spots. Y4 equals 4y. And I've talked to you guys about this plenty. A lot of 7th graders are like, when we correct homework, I always say it like this. And kids ask me, is it okay if I write that? It sure is. Why? Which property makes that okay? Right?
Commutative.
Commutative property. They just swapped. Good. Okay, using properties, we do this to use mental math. Mental math equals fast math. If you're not doing it fast, you're not utilizing mental math. Okay? And minimal work. Mental math is fast and low work involved. Okay? What you want to do is utilize commutative or associative properties to group together facts you know. You usually use commutative in associative, regrouping, flipping. So the facts that you know are always anything that you can make a 10. Making 10 is fast facts, right? Because you can always add easy with 10s. You can multiply easy with 10s. Your goal is to end in a 0. If you can end in a 0, you can add other numbers really quickly or multiply other numbers quickly, okay? So that's your goal. How can I get to a 0 at the end? Okay? The decimal ones are the worst, but we'll deal with it. So I'm looking at my last digits, and I'm comparing them. What can I add together quick to get to a 0? Okay? Eric,
1 and, yeah.
1 and the 1?
Yeah.
So like the 0.23 and the 0.07, do you see why? They end in a 0. 0.07 and 0.23 is going to turn into 0.3. So that turns into 2.3 plus 4.5. Quickly,
6.8.
6.8. Look, fast, low work. End in a 0. I'm looking at these and thinking, what can end in a 0? 4 times 6 times 25.
Ooh, I know.
Fast facts. What's a fast fact, Tiana?
4 times 25 is 100.
100 times 6. 600. Fast, low work.